Medicare, because of access to those facilities have been cut off. And the government is doing everything in its powers to ensure that in areas that access have been interfered with, that they are restored and people can be able to move freely. KENHA is on the ground, working around the clock to open access so that activities and daily movement can be able to take place. Agriculture is equally affected. Farmlands and crops have been destroyed and livestock swept away. Water and sanitation, likewise, you're aware that many areas, even in this town, have been flooded, and therefore it also affects sanitation. In those other counties that I did count, water is an issue, and the government is providing certain kinds of tablets to ensure that they are able to drink clean water, unlike using water that may be contaminated. Housing is also another area that is affected, and many houses have been swept away or destroyed. Of course, you do recall the disaster in West Pokot where several households lost their property, but not just in West Pokot alone, but other regions, albeit not so many counties that have experienced this. In terms of the extent of damage, and we're talking about humanitarian situation, approximately 350,000 people have been adversely affected across the entire country, 330,000 people. Now, those that have been displaced are 17,000. And those that have lost their lives as of yesterday are 132. Should there be any casualty last night, that number has not been incorporated in this. So the figure as it stands as of yesterday in the evening is 132. There are many people, indeed, that have also been cut off from their homes. A few have been marooned, but the government has been able to provide necessary support system to ensure that those that are marooned are either airlifted to safer ground so that they can be able to continue with life, albeit not in a proper way, but in a much better way than being marooned where they can get no support at all. 11,000 livestock have also been swept away. And undetermined acreage of farmland, like I did say, have been submerged, and crops of unknown value have been destroyed. And therefore, the next concern would be, what is the government doing as far as intervention is concerned? As governments, we have been in collaboration with other actors, including county governments, the Red Cross, World Food Program, and other humanitarian agencies. Some, of course, are international that have come in to try and assist, like Al-Hair, that have come in to assist, but others are local in organizations, local state actors of goodwill that have also come in to help in alleviating this kind of situation that we are facing in this country. They have therefore been able to provide food and non-food items to the affected communities. We'll see what these are. But also, as government, have put together a multi-agency team that is already working and assessing the situations on the ground as they happen and instituting measures to alleviate. Among the multi-agency that I would wish to bring to your attention is one that looks at the extent of damage of bridges and roads that have been cut off. And this is KENHA, which is part of that multi-agency team. Without transportation, without people being able to move from one region to another, commerce is affected, aspect of livelihood are affected, health is affected, and therefore KENHA has been working round the clock to restore broken bridges or collapsed bridges, broken down areas of roads, and so you saw what happened in West Pokot, where several bridges, in fact 3 of them were destroyed in one big sweep. But KENHA has been able to create alternative passage, and activities in that region are going on very well indeed. So the work that they're currently undertaking is to ensure that those collapsed bridges are rebuilt again. So the kind of interventions to create alternative passage areas to allow movement in that region to continue. This is not just for West Pokot alone. You remember even in Kwale, there was, not in Kilifi, there was a road that was cut. They were able to repair it within a record time of about 4 days, and movement was restored. So KENHA has been on the situation, monitoring and repairing any damage on the road or general infrastructure as far as bridges and roads are concerned, so that movement can be restored. Now, in terms of food items that have been given out or distributed to the areas that are affected, there's a lot, really. And I will not perhaps go through everything, but you will be given this so that you can use it for your news. But just to mention a few, in Isiolo, and this is Isiolo County, not sub-county, but Isiolo County as a whole, they have been so far issued with 2,100 bags of rice, 600 bags of beans, 150 cartons of vegetable oil, and 300 fortified food bales. These are bales, 300 bales of fortified food. Wajir, 5,600 bags of rice, 2,400 bags of beans, 400 cartons of vegetable oil, and 800 bales of fortified food. Now, of course, in Mandera, is 4,900 bags of rice, 2,100 bags of beans, 350 cartons of vegetable oil, and 700 bales of fortified food. Maybe just one more. In Kitui, and this has been largely affected, the government has issued 8,000 bags of rice, 3,200 bags of beans, 800 cartons of vegetable oil, and 1,600 bales of fortified food. The rest are there. You'll be able to find them in this document that we're going to circulate. But I also wish to look at West Pokot. Now, in West Pokot, so far, the government has been able to issue or distribute 200 bags of rice, 560 bags of beans, and 1,000 bales of fortified food. Now, a quick analysis of this would suggest that Pokot and Kitui have been able to receive the largest amount of fortified foods. And therefore, in West Pokot, it suggests that most of them are actually in camps. So they're not necessarily doing the cooking from their homes. Now, in Kitui, it's because of malnutrition. So most of this food is given out because it is food that has got a lot more nutrients, that is compact together. So it's being issued out in large quantities so that people can be able to get what you'd call balanced diet. Now, additionally, West Pokot has been able to receive cooking utensils, large quantities of cooking utensils, lighting implements, sanitary towels, mattresses, tarpaulins. Tarpaulins are tents that are used to construct shelters, and iron sheets. That so far the government has been able to issue 3,500 iron sheets and roofing nails. And again, like I said earlier on, this is because they are in IDP camps. So this is to help them so that when they move back to their former dwellings, then they can have something to start with. So it's a way of starting them right off. And therefore, as government, we keep on appealing to people of goodwill to continue providing, especially building materials to help in restoring most of our people to their previous dwellings. Additionally, of course, some of these people are living in homes that are not previously their homes. So there have been blankets that have been issued as well, several blankets, mosquito nets. I did mention about water treatment tablets, plus drugs. And indeed, Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital was able to give out 4 doctors and 36 medical staff or nursing staff to help with the disaster in West Pokot. And they were there for a good 3 days, running, treating all those that required to be treated, especially those that were affected by the disaster. I know all of them were affected one way or another, but there are those that got injured on the account of that disaster. And they were there for 3 good days, and they were able to treat quite a number. A few of them eventually were transferred to Moi Teaching Referral Hospital in Eldoret. I think there were 3. The others were treated at Kapenguria, admitted there. Some of them have been discharged. Those that were unable, unfortunately, to survive in West Pokot, we lost a total of 43. 43 persons lost their lives. And as of 2 days ago, 36 bodies had been recovered. 7 had not been recovered. Now, because of the duration of time from the day this disaster did happen last Saturday, not this one, but the other one, which about going now running to about 9 days, is that it is unlikely that those that have not been recovered would still be alive. And that is what makes us put this figure at 43. Okay? So, again, my request, or our request as government, is to use the official figures, because the figures that have been verified. How have they been verified? The Red Cross, together with the county governments, have gone to the families and spoken with the families. And the families have given out the names. So the people that we're talking about are not anonymous people. They are not people with no names. They are people with names that can be verified. So when you talk about 52, 57, 60, 100 names of people, but with no evidence. And therefore, we are only requesting and advising that let's use the figures that have been given, because there is evidence that these people can be, any individual can be linked to a family and has a name. So with that, we have got 43 that were able to perish in that disaster. Many have been injured and they've been treated. Others are still in hospital. Like I did mention 3, but the rest have been able to get back home and be united with their families. Now, what is the forecast? Now, the forecast is that this rain will continue until sometime, maybe up to the end of December. And this is important. Why? Because when we know what lies ahead, it makes it easy for us to prepare adequately. So what lies ahead is that these rains are unlikely to subside before the end of December. And therefore, as government, we'll continue to monitor the situation and undertake appropriate intervention mechanisms as government. Okay? But what about our people? We are therefore issuing an advisory that those living in high-risk areas, and I'll mention them, such as L.Victoria Basin, Lower Tana Delta, coastal and central regions, to move to safer areas. Already the government has designated camps in all counties that are affected where people can move to. I know the last couple of days, Tana has been swelling, and locals have been advised to move to areas that have been designated by government. where they can go, and support and assistance will be sent to them in those camps. So our appeal to you is to send out also this advisory to our people. I know, based on experience from several parts of this country, that when an alert like that is issued, when an advisory is issued, a couple of times many of us are unwilling to respond to such advisory appropriate or positively for two reasons. One is that I have my property here. I have my cow, I have my goat, I have my chicken, I have my this. How do I move and leave them behind? But you're also saying this, that a sheep can be bought later on. A cow can be bought later on. Anything else in form of a property can be bought later on. But there's only one life. Thus, once you lose it, it is gone. So therefore, we are appealing to anyone in those regions that please move to safer areas. You will go back when the situation stabilizes. We're also calling upon those who are living in areas that are prone to lightning, of course we're talking about Western Kenya and of course Nyanza, to move away from standing near grilled windows and standing under trees when there is rain. Because these are potential attraction or targets to lightning. So that's an appeal that we're sending out to those that live in those areas that are affected. People in Murang'a to move to areas that are safe. We are all aware about landslides in Murang'a, but also Elgeyo Marakwet, to move to safer areas. And once this period of the rain is over, they'll move back to their former dwellings. Now we're saying this so that we can be able to reduce the likelihood of any disaster, because there is only one life and you have to protect it. In any case, safety begins with who? With yourself. The government also only comes in the second tier, but the first tier is the individual himself. And therefore, by way of conclusion, we would like to assure the public that the government will continue to provide assistance to mitigate the impact of disaster should they happen. And whatever has happened is also a learning point for government to be able to continuously improve response mechanisms. Additionally, we also call upon the public to take advantage of the rains to plant trees to protect the environment. Most of these areas are very bare. If you go to West Pokot and any other part of this country, the areas are very bare. Now, why don't we take advantage of the rains to plant trees so that the soil can have something to hold it firmly? Because if there is nothing to hold the soil, when rains come, most of it will slide down. Okay? So that's an appeal that we're sending to our people to see that they take advantage of this rainy season and plant trees. Now, with those many remarks, we now open it to question and answers. And as you ask your question, kindly state your name and the media house that you represent. Thank you. Sorry.